Namaste, everyone. Christian Long, Life Enhancement Consultant, giving you a big and beautiful shout out on this Wednesday evening. Long time no see. Hope you're well. My body has been traveling, has been having my son into town, and has been recovering from a 10-day cold at this point, and finally able to jump on and do one of the MCKS vlogs. And so thank you for your patience. Thank you for coming back. Hopefully we can continue adding value to your lives. And today's quote is not from our calendar, right? We have a 365-day calendar of one of the quotes by Grandmaster Choa Koksui, but instead I want to pull from Experiencing Being, which is one of my favorite Golden Lotus Sutra series books. And today's quote is, by giving a person love, you make them grow. By giving a person love, you make them grow. And as I was thinking about it, I go, what's another way of looking at this quote? What if we change the words a little bit? By withdrawing love, you slow down the growth of a person. By giving a person anger, you make them wither. And so I was thinking about the relationships we have with our friends, our family members, our intimate partners, our employees, our employers, our vendors, our suppliers, the people that we see occasionally at the grocery store, at the Starbucks, the people we see constantly from day to day, but we don't know them very well. So they're more like acquaintances. And I think to myself, are we helping that person or persons grow through love? Now, the virtue of loving kindness, non-injury, is one of the 5 major virtues that we work with in pranic healing. And with all the virtues, there's the yin side and the yang side of the virtue. The yin side is not doing the thing, not doing the vice. And then the yang side of the virtue is doing the thing. So in the example of loving kindness and non-injury, it's being loving. So the yang side is being loving with your thoughts, your words, and your actions towards yourself and another person, which can take many, many different forms, which we'll discuss a little bit. And then you have the non-injury, or the yin side of the virtue, which is not causing another person injury with your thoughts, your words, your actions, including yourself, right? And so when you love someone, you're providing for them, you're protecting them, you're preserving them. And what's really fascinating about the energy of love is it permeates and it penetrates the energy body of another person, as opposed to what would be another energy that you could experience with another person? Will. What kinds of will can we deal with? We have spiritual will, we have mental will, we have emotional will, and we have physical will. Will is the ability to move one thing to another. So me moving my hands is a form of physical will. Me feeling sad and then feeling happy is a form of emotional will. Me thinking of a green apple and then thinking of a pink elephant is a form of mental will. And then blessing people and doing your best to raise the vibration of another person is a form of spiritual will or goodwill. And what has your personal experience been when you practice excessive will on somebody? When you are excessively willful with somebody, do they grow and blossom, or they wither and die? Because typically, if you're willful with someone, they'll either do it and not quite understand why they're doing it, but there's a level of intimidation or fear that they have, so they'll do it. Or if you try to be overly willful with someone, they're going to rebel, right? They're going to rebel. So you can be really willful and the person does that thing out of fear, or you can be really willful and the person meets and matches your will and you have an argument, you have disharmony, you have a fight. So probably not the best strategy. But what happens when somebody is super kind and super loving with you in general, right? You're having a bad day, had an argument at work, traffic jam, you stub your toe coming into the house. And what if the person that you interact with right after those moments is super kind, super loving? not in a way to manipulate, not in a way to get something in return, but simply the person shows up in a kind, loving, generous way. How does it make you feel? It makes you feel at peace. It soothes you. It relaxes you. It goes under the defenses of the not so pleasant experience that happened earlier that forces you to put on your armor, right? So when someone is deeply loving you, they can transform you. When they're deeply loving you, they can help you grow and flourish. But I realize in a lot of relationships, not just intimate relationships, but relationships in general, there is a lack of the love aspect. There's a lack of the love aspect, meaning a person feels depleted of love, of sweetness, of happiness, of joy. So if they feel depleted, right, and the fact that they're depleted is an indicator that they don't have the inner knowing on how to generate it from within, what do? They reach out to others to access loving thoughts, loving words, loving feelings, loving deeds. But if they're doing that to another person who is depleted of those beautiful, loving energies, then what happens? Anger, resentment, bitterness, disharmony, friction. One of the master pranic healers said many, many years ago that love is the ultimate lubricant, right? So when you and another person are very, very close to one another, what's happening? Friction is being created. Friction in your energy bodies merging together, and then frictions with your psychological states, friction with the words that you're using. Sometimes your words are kind and loving. Sometimes your words are cruel and critical. So that creates friction within the energy body of you and the other person, and affects the psychology of you and the other person. And then you have physical friction, right? Just being in proximity to one another, being on top of each other, sitting on each other during, watching movies, sleeping in bed together, interacting in the kitchen together. There's physical friction. So all of these different kinds of friction, psychological friction, emotional friction, physical friction, love is the ultimate lubricant. But what needs to happen in order for that to take place? Both people need to be centered in their hearts versus being centered in the upper chakras only or the lower chakras only, right? Because love heals, it soothes, it calms you, it nourishes you, right? When love is not there, it's like living in a refrigerator. It's cold, it's distant, it's there's a level of uncertainty, right? But instead of people coming from a place of love, there's a tendency to come from a place of emotional will, right? Because when your heart is big and expanded, it's cleansing and purifying and healing and nourishing the other chakras, especially the solar plexus. So the heart deals with higher emotions, right? Love, sweetness, tenderness, joy, happiness, fulfillment, right? The solar plexus deals with lower positive emotions and lower negative emotions. The lower positive would be ambition, drive, courage, perseverance, pushing through resistance. The lower negative emotions of the solar plexus, fear, anxiety, anger, irritability, frustration, right? Stress, not so pleasant. So when we are interacting with people, we have to be aware of our own hearts to radiate love to other people, to help nourish them, to help them grow, right? You see the plant behind me, the little seedlings, they're getting nourished by the water, but there's not only physical nourishment, but there's energetic nourishment. There's energy nourishment in that. So when you say a kind word to somebody, you're helping them psychologically, but also energetically, you're transforming them. You're soothing the pains, the traumas, the sufferings that are within their auric field and throughout their energy body. Conversely, if you are constantly criticizing, judging, condemning, putting down the other person with your thoughts, with your speech, you're withering them, right? Instead of expanding their aura, instead of healing and soothing their aura, what you're doing is poking holes in it, which does what? Leaks energy out of their system, so they feel deflated. They feel run down. They feel weak. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, I'm not verbalizing that all the time. Maybe, maybe not. But what are your thoughts about that person, about your intimate partner, about your children, about your parents, about your friends, about your boss? Have you ever noticed that there can be someone you criticize mentally for a prolonged period of time who you don't see regularly, and then when you see that person again, there is a disharmony between you and the other person? Have you ever noticed that? One of the factors could be you're criticizing, poking holes. Energy is leaking out. And the energy body of you and the other person have a familiarity of drama, chaos, abuse, right? Criticism, even though it's not on a conscious level of you communicating back and forth, on the subconscious and energetic level, that's what's taking place. So when you see that person, they automatically don't like you because you've been attacking them psychologically, using your thoughts or using your words behind their back, right? So it's not helpful. It's not beneficial. So again, if we want to help people grow, if we want to help take people to the next level in their lives, we have to nourish them. We have to give them lots and lots and lots of love. We give them, the way we give love is by spiritually blessing them. So we have the Twin Hearts meditation, which is a meditation for global peace and healing the planet, which we can use on our loved ones or people we have disharmony with. We can bless them. We can see them coated with deep, deep pink and gold energies from our heart and from our crowns. And we see the relationship being healed. We see the person's aura being healed. We see the chakras of the person being healed and soothed. And over time, the person will change, not overnight, but over time. So that's why it requires regular blessing of that person. The more damage there is, the more trauma, the more pain, the more holes, cracks, leaks in the person's aura, the more energy they're going to need over a prolonged period of time. The other way is by having loving thoughts about that person, right? Loving thoughts like what they're wearing, what virtues they're practicing, how far they've come with their development in some area of their life, how attractive they look physically, whether they have applied their makeup properly or not, whether they have a nice beard or not, whether their hairstyle looks good. Anything, any loving thoughts that you can have about the person is being sent from you to them, and it's nourishing and nurturing and healing their aura. But how often do we do that? Because we don't love ourselves, we don't love other people. Because we don't know how to nourish ourselves, we seek nourishment from other people and we pull, right? Another way of doing it is with our emotions. So feeling the feeling of love. Think about this for a second. If you are in a space of love and you feel love, right? You just be aware of your heart and you feel love and you share that feeling with another person, who benefits in the exchange? Both of you. There's this weird phenomenon that I'm still trying to figure out. I haven't quite cracked the code on it yet, that if you love another person, you're losing out. It's like if I light the candle of another person, my candle is now dimmer. Not true. As you give, you receive. But most people think the opposite. They go, well, I'll start loving you when you start loving me. Well, how is that working out in your intimate, interpersonal, or professional relationships? Right? It's a self-evident truth. You just look around and go, I haven't been very loving. I haven't been very kind. And that's the energy that comes back to me. What if I'm emotionally loving? I feel the love in my heart. I allow my heart to expand, which softens my entire auric field and all of my other chakras. And then I connect with another person emotionally. Or I use my language to speak kind, loving words to them. And now that your heart is activated, all the words that come out of your mouth are coated with pink, loving energies. and they'll be open and receptive to your message. Another way of physical love, massaging the person, holding their hand, hugging them, kissing them, having loving sex with them. Obviously, if they're your intimate partner, right? Doing things for them in the physical plane, doing the dishes, making food for them, running errands for them. And this doesn't just have to be with your intimate partner or people in your immediate vicinity. It could be with anybody, even strangers. That's a function of the heart and the crown. Love of those closest to us and love of God, love of all, right? So there are many, many ways that we can show up. And then financial love, right? Providing for another person or persons financially is a form of love. So you have spiritual love, right? And kindness. You have mental love and kindness, verbal love and kindness, emotional love and kindness, and then physical and financial love and kindness. And then the other thing is non-injury. Don't do things that cause injury to other people. So that means refraining from spiritually attacking them. So instead of blessing them in meditation, you spiritually attack them in meditation, right? It means refrain from or not do mentally attacking them, mentally criticizing, judging them, because that is how you wither somebody. That is how you break somebody down, which does what? Hurts you and them through the principle of oneness and the principle of karma. Make sense? So you're attacking another person, you're simply attacking yourself. So don't cause mental injury. Verbally, don't say mean, cruel, hurtful things. Now, do we all slip from time to time? Sure. So you have to forgive yourself, forgive the other person, and then move forward with a new awareness and new understanding and new commitment to do the loving and kind thing and not cause injury. And then physical non-injury means not hurting somebody physically, not slapping them, not beating them up, not pushing them down the stairs, right? Not causing physical injury. And then financial injury, not negatively affecting the income and livelihood and finances of another person. So giving them false investment advice would be a form of financial injury, which is coming back to who? You. So whatever radiates from you comes back to you magnified and multiplied many, many times. So if you send out loving kindness and non-injury energies, those gather energies in the inner world and then come back to you many, many times. Conversely, if you have a lot of negative thoughts or injurious thoughts, injurious words, injurious actions, cruel thoughts, cruel words, cruel actions, and you send them out to the world, those also gather energy and then come back to you. It always comes back to you. It may not happen overnight, and that's why I think people miss the law of karma, because they go, well, I did this mean thing and nothing happened. Yeah, nothing happened. But you plant something, right? And it takes time for it to grow. And everything takes different times because there's different factors determining how quickly something grows. So you might do something mean and cruel and hurtful to somebody, and then 5 minutes later, that comes back to you, right? Or you might do that mean, cruel, hurtful thing to somebody, and it comes back a year later, 5 years later. Likewise with good things. So we're like, okay, I'm committed, Christian. I'm committed to being loving and kind and sweet with my thoughts, my words, and my actions with everyone I come across, especially the people that are difficult in my life. And then what do you have with that? Expectations. Well, Christian, I was loving and kind to the person I've always argued with, and they still treated me like garbage. We still had a fight. We still had this, that, and the other. Well, how many weeks, months, or years have you been planting the wrong seeds, right? And you do 1 or 2 days of planting semi-conscious, loving, and kind seeds. You expect a huge harvest? Is that realistic? No. So if you have weeks, months, or years of pain and bad seeds that turned into weeds, it takes time to remove the weeds, and then it takes time to plant the good seeds, and then it takes time for those good seeds to grow. True or not true, right? So This goes back to forgiving yourself, being loving and kind with yourself, because this process takes time. This process can be very frustrating. And there's a tendency to be impatient with ourselves. Why can't I be more loving and kind? You just missed it. The person who's practicing loving kindness and non-injury towards oneself isn't thinking and acting that way, right? They're loving and kind as they're going through the process, because it's a process. You can't be mad at yourself when you're looking at the weeds you planted. You can't be mad at yourself as you're uprooting the weeds you planted. You can't be mad at yourself that you don't have a lot of weeds, and then you can't be mad at yourself that seeds, and then you can't be mad at yourself for the seeds that you planted haven't come up fast enough. Do you see how you can literally be mad at yourself from the start to the end of that process? So you're not learning the lesson. But if you can be loving and kind, recognizing, wow, whew, I planted a lot of not so good weeds. Okay, I forgive myself. And then you look at the other perspective of, okay, I'm removing as many weeds as I possibly can at this period of time. I'll just keep going. And then you say, okay, I'm grateful for the seeds, the good seeds that I can plant now. And then I'm grateful for these seeds producing fruit as quickly as possible. So you're enjoying the process, and the process is loving and kind from start to finish. Make sense? I hope that helps. And then lastly is the receptivity and conductivity of the other person you're giving love to. Have you ever been in a relationship with someone where you give them love, 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 and you notice nothing? They're still mean, they're still cruel, they're still hurtful. You don't really see the shift. Number one, could be your heart isn't big enough yet. You think you're giving a waterfall of love to this person when you're only giving maybe teeny tiny drops. So that's a factor. Another factor is time. Another factor is the karmic dynamic between you and the other person. Another factor is your expectations that you need to let go of. Because when you are loving somebody with expectations, the energy is kind of staying within your system. It's not being released into their system. It's like giving somebody a sandwich to go, hey, I know this is going to feed you, but before they put it into their mouth to consume it, you take it out of their hand. You're like, but I gave you a sandwich. Yeah, but you didn't give me time to digest it. You didn't give me time to consume it. So it's the same thing when you give somebody love and then you have expectation of you give love and you're like, where's my love? Right? It's like a farmer planting corn and then the next day he's standing over the plot of land going, come on, corn, where are you at? See how that doesn't work? So you have to let go of your expectations. I love you without expectations, but you're also open and receptive to receiving love. That's another factor on both ends. So the person giving love, who wants love, deep down, they don't feel worthy of love. So they just push it away. So love can come to them. Love can flow to them from the person they're loving or other environments and situations and people, but they don't feel worthy of love. So they push it out. So they feel not so loved. Make sense? And then the other factor is the other person is not very receptive and conductive to your love. I'll say that again. The other person may not be conductive and receptive to your love consciously or unconsciously. You love them, you love them, you love them, but they just don't seem to get it. They don't seem to receive it because they may not like you. They may not have resistance. So because they are beings of free will, they're literally creating an energetic barrier preventing them from receiving your love. They want nothing to do with you. So they are resisting that, even though we say we want love. So as you keep giving that person love and love and love and love over time, what happens? It eventually penetrates and permeates that barrier and then enters the person and they feel loved. And that energy is coming from you. So they have more love for you. They have more appreciation. So The process, and I'll read again today's quote, by giving a person love, you make them grow. So if you want the people in your life to grow, to prosper, to flourish, to be successful, give them love, and lots of it. Overwhelm them with love, and love yourself through the process. Love the start to finish, right? You loving another person doesn't diminish your love. It doesn't diminish your candle by lighting the candle of another person. But we have this weird perception that it does. It's not accurate, because the heart gives. You know what doesn't give? The solar plexus. The solar plexus does this. Takes. It's designed for me, myself, and I. Self-interest, which can turn into selfishness. So I hope that helps, these nuggets of wisdom. And again, when I jump on and do these MCKS vlogs, it's not standing in judgment, and it's not saying I'm perfect, and it's not saying that you have so far to go. It's a gentle, loving reminder for all of us that if we want the people in our lives to grow, we have to love them. If we want the people in our lives to wither and die, we just remove love and or attack them incessantly with negative thoughts, negative words, and negative actions, which I don't recommend, in case you were wondering that. So I hope you have a beautiful Wednesday evening. This coming Friday on March 19th is the Mahasamadhi, the day that Grandmaster Chogo Koksui, the modern founder of pranic healing and Hatha Yoga, left his body. So I will be posting something on my Facebook page promoting the different events that are taking place for Mahasamadhi. I highly recommend logging into that. And then we have a fun-filled weekend of inner work online with the master pranic healers that I'm very much looking forward to. So I hope this helps, and I look forward to serving each and every one of you moving forward into the future. If you have not checked out our membership site, definitely go to ChristianRLong.com. In the upper right-hand corner, it says membership. Check it out. We have a little intro video there and what the offer is, and it is an opportunity to become a better person and a better soul each and every month. Okay, so a lot of love to you guys. This is Christian Long, Life Enhancement Consultant, wishing you a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and a beautiful life. Atma, namaste. Bye-bye.